You have seen this happen. You are in a crowded room, perhaps a dinner party or a boardroom meeting, and the air is filled with the frantic energy of people trying to be heard. They are projecting, performing, laughing a little too loudly at jokes that aren't funny, and interrupting one another to insert their own anecdotes. It is a marketplace of noise, and everyone is selling themselves. But then there is that one person. They are not the loudest, they are not the most animated. They might be sitting back in their chair, observing rather than broadcasting. Yet when they finally lean forward and open their mouth, the room undergoes a subtle physical shift. The chatter dies down. Heads turn. People lean in. It is as if the gravity in the room has moved to their corner. They speak only a few sentences, perhaps even just a few words, but those words land with the weight of an anchor. They are remembered long after the witty banter of the performers has evaporated. Meanwhile, you are exhausted. You have been talking all night. You have been funny, informative, and accommodating. You have filled every silence with content. Yet you can see the glaze in people's eyes. You sense them nodding politely while scanning the room for an exit. You are offering them everything, yet they are taking nothing. You are saying more, but they are hearing less. The difference between you and the person who commands the room is not a matter of volume, IQ, or charisma in the traditional sense. It is a matter of physics. It is about weight. And in human interaction, weight does not come from what you add, it comes from what you remove. Most of us are conditioned to believe that social attraction is a game of addition. We think we need to be smarter, funnier, more interesting, and more available. We treat conversation like a resume, listing our attributes and experiences, hoping to win approval. But the Stoics, those ancient masters of self-possession, understood a different truth. They knew that attraction is a game of subtraction. It is about removing the need for approval, removing the frantic desire to fill space, and removing the mask of performance. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who wrote for himself rather than an audience, commanded, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The same logic applies to communication. Waste no more time trying to seem interesting. Be present. The moment you stop performing is the moment you become magnetic. This is not about manipulation. It is about stripping away the noise to reveal a character that actually has density. To achieve this weight, we must unlearn the habits of the anxious performer and adopt the principles of the conscious observer. This requires a fundamental shift in how we view our role in a conversation. We are not there to entertain, we are there to witness. The first shift begins with how we respond when someone opens a door. Consider the common scenario. A colleague mentions they have recently started learning the guitar. The anxious performer's brain immediately searches for a connection to self. "Oh, I played guitar in college. I had a Fender Stratocaster. You should really try this specific chord progression I learned." In an instant, you have hijacked the conversation. The other person opened a door to their world, and you walked through it and started talking about your furniture. You have made their interest about your experience. Now they are forced to listen to you talk about a subject they introduced, politely waiting for you to finish so they can regain some agency in the exchange. The person of weight does something entirely different. They suppress the urge to insert themselves. They hear guitar, and instead of a statement, they offer an invitation. They say, "Tell me more about that." These 5 words are transformative. They signal a cessation of your ego. You are stepping back and turning the spotlight entirely onto them. You are not planning your response. You are genuinely curious about their experience. In a world where everyone is waiting for their turn to speak, genuine curiosity is the rarest commodity. When you ask someone to tell you more and you actually mean it, you can physically see them light up. They relax. They go deeper. They share the struggle of the F chord or the joy of their first song, not because it's a riveting story, but because they feel the immense pleasure of being heard. When they walk away from that interaction, they won't remember the specific details of what you said. They will remember how they felt in your presence. They felt interesting. They felt valued. And because you made them feel interesting, they will conclude that you are a fascinating person, even if you barely spoke about yourself. If curiosity is the first pillar of weight, honesty is the second. But this is a specific kind of honesty that terrifies the insecure, the admission of ignorance. We live in an era where everyone is expected to have an opinion on everything. Economics, epidemiology, foreign policy, the latest viral trend. We feel a pressure to nod along and offer a hot take to prove we are informed. When asked about something we don't understand, the instinct is to fake it. We offer a vague, word salad answer, or we parrot a headline we saw on social media. This performance of knowledge is transparent. Humans are excellent lie detectors. We can sense the hollowness in someone's voice when they are improvising facts. When you fake knowledge, you are signaling insecurity. You are saying, I am terrified that if I don't know this, I am not valuable. The person of weight operates differently. When faced with a gap in their knowledge, they do not bridge it with lies. They look you in the eye and say, I don't know. There is a profound power in those three words. They are not an apology. They are a statement of fact. By admitting what you do not know, you unwittingly validate everything you do claim to know. If you are willing to say, I don't know about topic A, then when you speak with conviction about topic B, people believe you. You have established that you are a truth teller, not a performer. Socrates famously noted that his wisdom lay in the fact that he knew nothing. This wasn't false humility. It was the ultimate security. The person who is comfortable saying, I don't know, is a person who is not threatened by the limits of their own intellect. They are secure enough to be a student, which paradoxically makes them a master of the room. As we move deeper into genuine connection, we encounter the inevitable friction of life, other people's problems. When someone shares a struggle, a difficult boss, a crumbling relationship, a pervasive sense of burnout, the anxious performer instinctively reaches for the toolbox. We want to fix it. Have you tried waking up earlier? You should really read this book. Why don't you just quit? We think we are being helpful. In reality, we are being dismissive. By offering a quick solution to a long-standing problem, we are implying that their struggle is simple and that they are incompetent for not having solved it yet. We are rushing to fix them because their pain makes us uncomfortable. We want the problem to go away so we can get back to pleasantries. The Stoic approach is not to fix, but to witness. It is to offer the validation of three simple words. That sounds difficult. You are not minimizing their pain. You are not comparing it to the time you had a bad day. You are simply standing beside them in the hole they are in and acknowledging that it is dark. This creates a space of immense psychological safety. Most people do not share their problems because they want a consultant. They share them because they are carrying a heavy load and want to know they aren't crazy for finding it heavy. When you validate the difficulty without trying to rush to a solution, you give them permission to feel. And often, in that space of permission, they find their own answers. They process out loud. They come to realizations, and they associate you with that breakthrough, not because you gave them the answer, but because you gave them the respect of patience. You displayed the tolerance Marcus Aurelius spoke of, being strict with yourself but tolerant with others. Perhaps the most terrifying element of communication for the modern person is the absence of it: silence. We treat silence like a contagion. If a pause stretches beyond 2 seconds, we panic. We assume the conversation is failing, and we rush to perform CPR with inane chatter. We talk about the weather, the appetizers, anything to drown out the quiet. But words without silence have no borders. They spill into one another, becoming a wash of noise. The person who commands the room understands that silence is not empty, it is a frame. Watch a master communicator. When asked a question, they do not answer immediately. They pause. They look away, think, and then speak. That pause does 2 things. First, it signals respect for the question. It implies the inquiry was worthy of thought. Second, it creates anticipation. The silence acts as a coiled spring, storing energy that is released the moment they speak. Furthermore, being comfortable with silence allows you to learn things that noise obscures. When you stop rushing to fill the gap, the other person often will. And in their attempt to fill the silence, they often reveal their true selves. They share the thing they were holding back. They elaborate on the thought that was half-formed. Silence is a vacuum, and truth has a tendency to rush in to fill it. If you can sit in that quiet, without fidgeting, without checking your phone, without looking for an exit, you project a level of confidence that is unnerving in the best possible way. You are declaring that you are content just being. You do not need the constant stimulation of chatter to feel alive. In our busy lives, our interactions often become transactional. We thank people for what they do for us. Thanks for the report. Thanks for picking up dinner. Thanks for the ride. We acknowledge the function they performed. But deep down, every human being is desperate to be seen, not as a utility, but as an entity. We want to be recognized for our character, not just our output. This is where the phrase, "I appreciate you," diverges sharply from "thank you." Thank you is for the action. I appreciate you is for the person. When a friend shows up for you during a hard time, don't just thank them for coming. Look at them and say, "I appreciate you." You are acknowledging their loyalty, their consistency, their nature. You are seeing them. This distinction is subtle but seismic. The world treats people like machines, inputs and outputs. When you stop to appreciate the person behind the machine, you create a bond that is not easily broken. You become a person who sees value where others only see utility. However, this cannot be a cheap trick. You cannot scatter this phrase like confetti. It must be reserved for moments of genuine recognition. When used correctly, it stops people in their tracks because it satisfies a hunger they didn't realize they were starving from. Finally, there is the principle that protects all the others. It is the ability to draw a line. The anxious performer says yes to everything. They agree to events they don't want to attend, favors they don't have time for, and opinions they don't agree with. They believe that availability creates likability. But availability without boundaries is actually a form of cheapness. If your time belongs to everyone, it belongs to no one. If you say yes to everything, your yes has no value. It is merely a default setting. The person of weight understands the economics of scarcity. They are not afraid of the word no. When asked for a commitment they cannot give, they do not offer a spiraling excuse about how busy they are, hoping to be forgiven. They simply say, "No, I can't do that," or "No, that won't work for me." There is no hostility in this no. It is clean. It is a boundary. And contrary to popular belief, boundaries do not push people away. They garner respect. When you demonstrate that your time is your own and that you protect it fiercely, people value the time you do give them. They understand that your presence is a choice, not a compulsion. Every time you say no to something that doesn't matter, you are silently saying yes to something that does. Your own peace, your own goals, your own values. Epictetus taught us that we must learn the meaning of what we say before we speak. When you say yes, when you mean no, you are lying. You are lying to the other person, and you are betraying yourself. The person who commands respect is the one whose yes is gold, because their no is iron. If you weave these threads together, curiosity, intellectual honesty, validation, silence, deep appreciation, and firm boundaries, you do not end up with a technique. You end up with a character. You stop being the person who is trying to win the room, and you become the person the room wants to win over. This is the paradox of Stoic attraction. By removing the need for attention, you gain it. By removing the fear of silence, you are heard. By removing the mask of perfection, you are trusted. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, feel the urge to perform rising in your chest. Feel the desire to interrupt with a story, to fake an answer, to fill the silence. Acknowledge that urge, and then let it pass. Choose wait instead. Lean back. Listen. Speak only what is true. You will find that when you finally do speak, the world will lean in to hear you.